Hey everyone, Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is October 23rd, and we're going to be discussing the storm system that's starting to take shape over the Pacific Ocean right now. It's very far from the coastline right now, but it's pulling in some subtropical moisture, and it's going to be a very strong storm out here. But it will start the weekend, then turn to the northeast and bring the low pressure will go right up the coastline. Models are kind of disagreeing on how close to the coastline it will get or how strong it will be. It's going to be weakening rather quickly, but if that weakening doesn't happen as fast as some of the models are showing, we could get a bit of a windstorm for some localized areas, especially northwest Washington, also the Washington, Oregon coastlines, maybe even the southwest BC potentially as well. So we're going to talk about that, and a cooler pattern looks to settle in after that as a deep trough and strong storm system over the Gulf of Alaska kind of weakens and moves over the Pacific Northwest, bring some chilly air down from the northern parts of the continent, and then that will bring some potential for maybe some isolated thunderstorms, some showers and stuff, and then we'll look at the extended forecast to see what weather we may expect even after that. I hope everybody's having a great day today, and let's get right into the forecast. Now we're looking at the general ridge and trough positions on the European model. Here's British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, California, and Alaska. Let me play this back real quick. Here's about right now. You can see our residual troughing from this weekend's storm system. This kind of gets dragged off the coast, but then comes right back in later today into tomorrow. This may bring some light precipitation in the parts of Oregon, but really not too impactful. What we're keeping an eye on is the storm system that's barely off the screen right now. If I play this through in the Friday, here's Friday right now. This really deep trough of low pressure associated with the strong storm system underneath it will help to drag this storm system over the Pacific Ocean right to our to the northeast, right into our area. And just how fast this weekend will decide what impacts we'll get. It looks like wind is for sure, and definitely rain 100%. But how strong the winds get is really dependent on how fast or how slow this intends to weaken. The slower it weakens, the more impacts it will bring related to wind. The weaker it is, obviously, it's going to be lesser wind impacts. But this storm system meanders off Haida Gwaii before moving in. Kind of another section of the trough starts to move down as we go through later Sunday into Monday. This will bring a very large trough of low pressure over the west coast, bring precipitation and a cold front even down to California, which will give them a reprieve from all their very warm weather the last couple of months. And this will also bring some more precipitation, maybe some thunderstorm chances as well. That trough kind of hangs out for a couple of days. Another trough comes down the European model. Models are not 100% sure what's going to happen with this, obviously, as this is over a week out now. This is looking at next Wednesday, so exactly a week from today's video. That would bring another low pressure system into the area, bring maybe some more gusty winds as well with that. But we'll continue to look at that as we go. Now looking at the GFS, it has that storm system down there, as is typical for very early on in the model cycle. But look at how it kind of like evaporates the storm system a lot quicker. It still brings some blustery winds, but not nearly as impactful as the European model is. And I'll show you guys the wind speeds here in a minute. But it also has that very strong low pressure system, and actually is a little stronger on the GFS, which is, I'm wondering if that takes some of the energy away from this storm system down there and weakens it a bit more. But as the European model showed, it also brings that trough eventually down a little stronger, maybe brings some more impacts to California, more precipitation, mountain snows to the Sierra Nevada. And also generally it does have that next trough also out later next week. And it's a little different than the European model, but generally in good agreement that we're going to keep some storm systems in the area through later next week. Now looking at a closer look at things here, Washington, Oregon, California, and British Columbia. This is looking at the European model right now, and this is sea level pressure anomaly. So this is basically showing how the sea level pressure is from normal. So reds are going to be higher than normal for this time of the year, and blues are going to be lower than normal for this time of the year. And this kind of gives us a good idea of the storm system. Here's that low pressure system as it starts to eject northward towards the Pacific Northwest. And look at how the European model, it keeps it a pretty low pressure, about 994, 995, right as it comes off Nia Bay in the northern coast of Washington. And this brings a pretty substantial pressure gradient over western Washington and northeastern Oregon. This would bring some very intense wind gusts to parts of the coastline and also the northwest interior, so San Juan County, parts of Whidbey Island, Island County, maybe Bellingham as well. And then as that glides northward, you can see this little low pressure system that kind of forms over the Olympic Peninsula right here. And this would enhance some wind speeds over the Island County and San Juan Island areas before that clears out. And then you can see the really strong low pressure system, the 960s up there off of Haida Gwaii, before that weakens and kind of brings some general low pressure over the area as we go through later next week. And then you can see a potential for maybe another strong frontal system as we go through Wednesday of next week. But that is too far out for us to pay much attention to, especially with this storm system. Now looking at the GFS, look how it kind of weakens that a lot more. It's only a 999 millibar low off Nia Bay. That would still bring a pretty good pressure gradient over the area, but as you can see, it's not as strong as the European model, would bring lesser wind speeds. Now looking at the 6-hour precipitation type in inches and sea level pressure in millibars. Now, this gives us a good idea. You can see that a bit of precipitation later today into tomorrow for parts of Oregon that slides into Idaho with that little bit of troughing that forms from the weekend system remnants, but brings maybe some light mountain snow to parts of the Cascades and maybe Blue Hills of Oregon. But then you can see our storm system brewing off the coastline, and as we go in the very early Saturday morning, you can see it dives into the coastline with that pretty intense pressure gradient here on the European model, and that would bring some pretty heavy rain. But this precipitation looks to last all the way through Sunday as well, and showers continuing on all the way through later on Monday. There would be some isolated thunderstorm potential with this as that cold air aloft kind of destabilizes the atmosphere and allows those cumulonimbus clouds to start building. And as we play this through, you can see the next potential frontal system that, as you can see, there's a lot more mountain snow starting to show up in models. There's going to be a lot more cold air that is going to be dropping down with these troughs of low pressure. And that's pretty typical as we get through later in the October and we can start building up that snowpack. So it's good to see that, especially those skiers out there that want the season to start up as early as possible. Now looking at the lightning flash density on the European model, let me refresh that and let's play this out. You can see there's some thunderstorms associated with this low pressure system. The European model mostly has them stay offshore, but it's showing a little bit as there's potential for some convergence zone action and later on Saturday after the frontal system and low pressure move through. So that's kind of a little extra thing to keep an eye on as we watch the storm system come in. Now looking at a close look at things in the Pacific Northwest, here's western Idaho, here's Washington, Oregon, southwest British Columbia, Vancouver's up here. Now as we play this through, generally light, then maybe some slightly breezy winds over a bit of the area as some low pressure lingers. But as we go through this later Friday into Saturday morning, look at some of these wind gusts off the coastline. That's approaching 70 miles per hour right off of Cape Disappointment. So there's going to be some pretty epic wave watching if you're out there. Most of these winds should stay like just off the coastline, but some of those exposed beaches will have the chance of getting some gusts over 60 miles per hour. And look at Long Beach getting up towards almost 65 miles per hour. Definitely would cause some power outages out there, so they haven't gone this strong this season so far. But look at this as it moves into the coastline. Last night's European model had some potential for some gusts over 60 miles per hour for Whidbey Island, San Juan's, and even Bellingham. That would definitely cause some power outages. Even though we've got a lot of south winds over the last few days with that atmospheric river that bring the 3 days of gusts over 50 miles per hour, the parts that Whidbey Island, the San Juans. Getting over 60 miles per hour, that's getting pretty substantial, and that would start causing even more power outages as well. So we're gonna have to really keep a close eye on this. Other models, though, have maybe some gusts up towards 40 miles per hour. So it really depends on how fast this storm system weakens and how strong it is when it moves into the coastline. But you can see it's going to be a rather fast wind event as that low pressure system is getting flung northward, kind of like a boomerang as it rounds that big, stronger low pressure system over the Gulf of Alaska. We can see Hurricane Ridge getting over 80 miles per hour. That's kind of why it's got the name Hurricane Ridge, and it makes a name for itself every single frontal system we get. Now looking at all 50 Ensemble members on the European model, basically all 50 of these models are they're all the European model, but the initial conditions are tweaked slightly to kind of get a better idea of what could happen. Let's say maybe the low pressure system's a little weaker at the start, and it happens to be weaker as it comes in as well. It's going to result in lower wind speeds, or maybe this basically just kind of gives us a general idea of how the agreement is in the models. And you can see that this is kind of been uptrending. I've been noticing this uptrending. The average of all 50 of the Ensemble members for Saturday morning is getting over 45 miles per hour. And you can see the control run, what the model that has the best conditions as we know it when it starts running out. And it has over 60 miles per hour for wind. You can see some of these members also have over 60 miles per hour, but you can see the majority of the models keep the wind speeds under 55 miles per hour. Even some only show maybe some gusts up to 30 miles per hour. That's why we don't have a 100% chance of getting a good blast of wind speed with that, but it has been uptrending towards a more stormy solution. Here, Seattle, also some gusty winds expected, lower than Whidbey Island, which is pretty typical, but you can see some Ensemble members have over 40 mile per hour gusts for SeaTac in the Seattle area, so that's pretty substantial for down there, and they haven't really gone wind speeds over that this season so far, so that would definitely cause some power outages. And once you get over 50 miles per hour in Seattle, that's getting well over windstorm category over there. Now looking at a nice graphic from the National Weather Service of Spokane. On top of everything else, the next few days are going to be very chilly on the eastern half of the Pacific Northwest over there in eastern Washington and Oregon, with near or below freezing low temperatures through Friday. And you can see Colville even getting down to the teens out there in some of those colder locations in the higher elevations as well. Coeur d'Alene getting into the low 30s. You can see that the Republic is getting down to the low 20s as well. So make sure to keep protect any crops you might still have out there. I know it's late in the season, but some people do have some later crops. Now, this is the National Weather Forecast, the National Weather Service office of Portland, Oregon. And this is looking at their website, and you can go to this weather.gov and look at all these different National Weather Service offices. And you can also see that there's a lot of frost advisories and freeze warnings for Western Oregon and Southwest Washington. And we're getting some of the first frost of the season, which can damage crops and stuff. So make sure that you have all those protected out there. You can see even in Southwestern Oregon and Northern California, some of those valleys have freeze watches up for the next few days, as temperatures may get into the low 30s and middle to upper 20s as well out there. So just make sure to keep an eye out on that if you're out there. Now look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. This is October 28th through November 1st. And you can see generally below average temperatures as those troughs of low pressure kind of swoop down into the area, and that will lead to some of the first frost of the area over much of the region, and definitely some chilly weather. But you can see the eastern half of the U.S. is much above average as they continue to have some late summer-like weather out there. Now scrolling down, here's the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, and this is no surprise that we're expecting above average precipitation chances through the 6 to 10 day period, basically near normal for California. But that one frontal system is going to start maybe bringing some precipitation and cooler temperatures as we go through later this week and the next week. Also, 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This is for October 30th through November 5th. Generally, below average temperatures is favorable during this time period. There is definitely plenty of mild disagreement in this time frame, which is pretty normal. But you can see Halloween looks to be kind of chilly this year, so make sure to bring a jacket under any of those costumes out there. Also, potential for above average precipitation. I hope that the precipitation can hold off until after Halloween, but make sure that bring some rain clothes as you go trick-or-treating. And I'll have another forecast out before Halloween starts to get a better idea of the Halloween forecast. But in general, we're going to keep the active weather pattern up as we go through early November, which is pretty typical this time of the year. So I'll make sure to keep everybody updated as the weather conditions change. Well, that's it for this video, everybody. I hope everybody found this enjoyable and informative. We're going to be watching the storm system that's brewing over the Pacific Ocean, and it'll eject northeast into the Pacific Northwest later Friday into Saturday, and continuing some impacts in the Sunday and Monday of later this week and the early next week. However strong it is when it makes landfall, it's going to really depend really affect the wind speeds that we're going to be receiving. And I probably will do another video on Friday getting a better look at things, as we can look at high resolution models and get a better idea on wind speeds as well, because that could bring a quick very strong blast and potential windstorm for parts of the northwest Washington and also the coastlines as well. So it's going to be really important to watch this as we go. If you want to make sure you don't miss out on any new videos I post, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell that's right below this video. You see that little bell icon, the red subscribe button, if you haven't subscribed yet. That just helps the channel get pushed out to more people as well. I'm super happy to be able to do these forecasts. I find them to be pretty fun to do. I'm really interested in the weather and telling everybody about it, and I can help you guys plan out your week and stuff as well. So I'm glad to be of assistance. And what else? Take care, God bless, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their week. Talk to everybody in the next video.